And to talk about the threat of the Chinese Communist Party to the United States, joining us now with more perspective, we have Wyoming Congresswoman Harriet Hageman. Congresswoman Harriet Hageman, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me today.
Of course, Congressman, President Biden meeting with the CCP leader yesterday, Xi Jinping. What were your thoughts on this meeting and some of the reports coming out of it?
Well, I'm not very impressed with the way that our president is conducting himself right now. It is rather stunning to me how weak he appears in front of and in dealing with one of the people that I think is one of the biggest threats to America. And frankly, to so many other areas of the world. And so I was surprised at the obsequiousness. I was also surprised that he hasn't done more in terms of trying to protect American citizens and American businesses from what we know is going on in China, including the stealing of trade secrets and things like that.
So to your point, outside of diplomacy, things that need to be done, do you think that the United States fundamentally realizes that the policy of engagement has truly failed? And do we have a plan to manage a hostile China that uses asymmetric warfare despite their appealing to American businesses?
I don't think that the leadership that we have in place right now is strong enough to push back against China. So yes, you talk about it from a diplomatic standpoint, and I understand that part of it, but I don't think that it is clear to China. I mean, just one example is the fentanyl crisis that we have in this country. We've lost over 120,000 people to fentanyl overdoses, and China is where the fentanyl is originating, and then they're taking it to Mexico and bringing it across the open border. So that metric alone is reason enough for America to be pushing back very strongly against Chinese policies and the Chinese Communist Party. Yet again, all I see is a president basically bowing to China. And I think that it's sending a terrible message, not only to China, but to the rest of the world.
You raise a lot of very important points. I just came back from South Korea myself, investigating the CCP's infiltration there. You don't realize the importance to actually go there strategically. You know, we have over 20,000 troops in South Korea still to this day. I just want to move on here, and you touched upon it. I want to get your thoughts. How does the promotion of human rights and democratic values fit into the U.S. strategy for countering this CCP influence?
You know, what is so interesting is that what is playing out before our very eyes demonstrates the, again, to use the word, the malign influence of Chinese Communist Party and the threat that they pose to the rest of the world. 20 years ago, Hong Kong was one of the most vibrant cities in the entire world. The financial sector there, it was critical to the financial health and well-being, really, to most countries around the world, just simply because of their influence. And yet, in such a very short time, once China took Hong Kong back, look what they have done. Look at the freedoms that they have stripped of the people who had lived their entire lives in a free society. What we saw in terms of the response to the pandemic should scare everyone when you think about their growing influence throughout the world, throughout the region as well as throughout the world. These are people who do not believe in human rights. They look at people as being basically expendable to the higher power, which is the Chinese Communist Party. So Hong Kong should be a wake-up call for all of us as to what kinds of threats the Chinese Communist Party poses to world order, to freedom, to liberty, to financial security. There are so many things. I mean, they had promised when they retook Hong Kong and subsumed Hong Kong that it would be able to remain as it had been. And they broke that promise very, very, very quickly. And Hong Kong and the rest of the world has suffered as a result. But we're watching it play out right before our eyes. And I think that we need to be incredibly careful in terms of how we allow them to expand their influence and their power.
Wyoming Congresswoman Harriet Hageman, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.